Hello, my friends, and welcome to week 1 of our Awaken Advent series. I am so glad that you are here with us, embarking on this 4-week journey together. Advent is the time leading up to Christmas, the time leading up to the birth of Jesus. And for this year, I have decided to call our series, these next 4 weeks that we're in, Yellow Lights. Because contrary to what you might believe, yellow lights mean to slow down, to proceed with caution. Yellow lights on a traffic signal doesn't mean to move through as quickly as you possibly can. It doesn't mean to hit the gas and accelerate, but it means to take it down a few notches. See, for me, this beautifully captures the spirit of Advent, because Advent is a time of slowing down. It's a time of stillness, of taking a step back. Advent is a time of preparation. Whenever I read through the birth stories of Jesus, one of the things that I notice about the time right before Jesus' birth is that it's a time marked by solitude, seclusion, taking that step back, preparing hearts for that which is to come. That's what these 4 weeks are about, preparing our hearts to receive the birth of Jesus, to receive the birth of Jesus in fresh, new ways, to receive the birth of Jesus in a way that speaks to each of us exactly where we find ourselves in this moment, because every single year is different. We have different experiences, different things that we've been through. And so every year when we come to the birth of Jesus, we're asking God for something different. There's a different need that each of us has every single year. So for me, Advent's about, well, how do we prepare ourselves to receive that which God desires to give to us? Now, I mentioned that these birth stories are marked by silence and solitude. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So in Luke's Gospel, right in the beginning, the birth of Jesus starts with a man named Zechariah. Now, Zechariah is a priest. He works in the temple. He serves the Lord in the temple. And Zechariah, we're told, him and his wife Elizabeth, they're righteous. They follow God. They trust God with their lives. Their hope is placed in God. But we're told in verse 7 they had no children because Elizabeth was barren, and they were both well along in years. So for Zechariah and Elizabeth, they've gotten to a point in their lives where they no longer believe that they are going to have children. But then one day while Zechariah is at work, an angel shows up. Imagine it's like a Tuesday morning, 11 a.m., Zechariah is going through his duties, and all of a sudden an angel appears. You know, a normal Tuesday morning in the office. And this angel tells Zechariah, you and your wife, you're about to have a son. You're going to have a son in the near future. And not only are you about to have a son, but this son that you're going to have, he's to be a prophet. He's going to be a prophet who is going to prepare the way for the Messiah. Now for Zechariah and his entire tribe, they've been waiting. They've been longing. They've been carrying this dream within their hearts for hundreds of years, a dream that's been passed down from one generation to the next. A dream that God is going to deliver on a promise that God made long ago. See, this dream, it's been in existence for hundreds of years. This promise that God has given that He would give His people a Messiah, a Savior, a Redeemer who would set them free from all that has held them down in bondage, whether it's a bondage of their own making or a bondage, an enslavement that's been placed upon them by others. And so Zechariah, he's been waiting. But obviously, he's getting a bit older. And the thought of that dream being fulfilled, of seeing the fulfillment of this promise come true in his lifetime, it's beginning to fade away a bit. Now enter this angel who tells him 2 surprising, incredible things. First, you're going to have a son. Second, this son is going to be the precursor, the one who prepares the way for this long-awaited Messiah. So if you're like Zechariah, you have to forgive him for his response, which I believe is a response that any of us in his shoes would have had. Here we are, verse 18. Zechariah asked the angel, "How can I be sure of this? I am an old man, and my wife is well along in years." Are you punking me? Is this even possible? And so the angel answered, "I am Gabriel. I stand," as if that just clears everything up. "I'm Gabriel, and I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and to tell you this good news." And here's my favorite verse of this entire story, the oddest verse of this story. "And now you will be silent and not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their proper time." For Zechariah, he's lost the ability to communicate with others. 2,000 years ago, there were no cell phones. Zechariah couldn't pull out his iPhone, send a couple of text messages. He couldn't send out some emails. He couldn't post on his Instagram account. The only way, the main way that Zechariah at this time was able to communicate with others was through the spoken word. And now he's lost that ability. I mean, even writing back then was difficult. For Zechariah, he's lost his ability to voice his thoughts, his opinions, his ideas to others. He's being forced into silence. Now, you might read this and you might think, "Whew, man, God's coming on strong here. That's a pretty harsh punishment." But what if we were to look at this forced silence as a gift that was given to Zechariah? If you pull out your Advent box, many of you have received your Advent box, and these are stops along the journey that are packed into this box. Let's pull out our first stop, and it's a quote. And if you have not received an Advent box, but you would like to receive one, contact me, comment on this post, on this video, let me know, hey, I'd love an Advent box, because packed into these Advent boxes are all the stops, all the tools that we need for our journey through Advent. So the first stop is a quote, and it's a quote that comes from Isaac of Nineveh, a 7th century Syrian bishop. He says this: "Silence is the mystery of the world to come. Speech is the organ of this present world. More than all things, love silence. It brings you a fruit that the tongue cannot describe. In the beginning, we have to force ourselves to be silent. But then from our very silence is born something that draws us into deeper silence. May God give you an experience of this something that is born of silence. If you practice this, if you practice silence, inexpressible light will dawn upon you." Silence, it's a gift. It's a gift that Zechariah is being given. I mean, think about your life. Think about how much noise there is in your life. There's the external noise, which is all that noise that bombards us from every angle, almost every waking moment of our days. And we're going to talk about external noise next week. But then there's the internal noise. There's the noise that you yourself produce. And when we're making all this noise, when we're producing all this noise, creating all this output, whether it's speaking it verbally, whether it's posting things, sending out texts and emails, which is a normal part of our day, when we're creating and producing noise, what happens is we're unable to listen. We're unable to listen to others. Have you ever been in a conversation? It happens to me all the time. In a conversation with someone, and you're unable to hear that person speak because you're already formulating in the back of your mind how you're going to respond, what you're going to say to them, how you're going to tell them that they're wrong, or how the things that you believe trump the things that they actually believe. Or what about listening to your own soul, to that which you're carrying around within you, the hurts, the pains, the wounds that you've experienced? Or what about your hopes, your dreams? I mean, how often do we take the time to be still, to listen to that which is crammed deep down within us? Or what about listening to the divine Spirit? How often do we create space in our lives to be silent before God, to just listen? And I mean, think about our prayers. Our prayers are a whole lot of asking, but how often do we set the asking to the side and we simply listen? I love this verse in James 1:19. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak. I mean, how often do we reverse that order? How often is it we are quick to speak and slow to listen? I need to remind myself of that truth all the time. What if for the season of Advent, we took the wisdom of James to heart and we were intentional about being quick to listen and slow to speak? What if for this entire season, we were intentional about listening, about being still, about quieting the noise around us so that we could listen? Listen to what others are saying, what they're communicating with their words. Listen to our own souls. Listen to the divine Spirit that is speaking, I believe, every single moment. It's simply a question of, are we listening? Are we moving slow enough? Are we paying attention to the yellow lights that are all around us so we can hear that which the divine Spirit longs to speak to our hearts? Now, one of the things that I want to do over these next 4 weeks together is each week I want to give you very specific practices so you can take what we're talking about and then put it into practice throughout the week. So here are our week 1 practices. And I'm giving you more than one because I get it. For some of us, one thing doesn't work and we need something different. We're all wired differently, so we all need different things. So here are 3 ways that we can practice less output from ourselves, less noise. First, journal. In your Advent box, there is a journal. This journal, and yours probably looks a bit different than mine, but this journal, it's a gift to you. Because I realize if I were to say journal, and then you had to take that extra step of going out and finding a journal, maybe you wouldn't actually practice the art of journaling. So I thought, hey, could I give everyone a gift? Could I give everyone a journal to make it that much easier so that you could begin every morning, or you could end every night, or you could carry this around with you throughout the day. You could create pockets of stillness and begin to just listen and record that which comes to mind, that which pops up, that which you're becoming aware of. Oftentimes I'll carry a journal with me throughout the day. Whenever I'm aware of something, whenever an old conversation pops up in my mind or there's something that I'm dwelling on, I just note it. I make a note of it. And so my journal, for me, it's a record of all the things that I'm hearing throughout the week. Maybe you want to start every morning in silence and just writing down everything that you're hearing. Again, not asking anything in prayer, but simply listening. Or here's a second way to practice this. Spend a day in silence. Yeah, this one might be really difficult for you. Can you spend an entire 24-hour period in silence, of not speaking, of not posting, of not texting? Yeah, this is a hard one. I had to do this for seminary, for a spiritual formation class in seminary. 24 hours without speaking, you'll hear a lot. You'll definitely hear a lot. Some of it might be uncomfortable because oftentimes we push all those things down because we don't want to hear them. We don't want to confront them. What if we were to take an entire 24-hour period and just listen? Maybe 24 hours is too much for you. What about 8 hours? A third of your day, 10 hours? Is there a certain period of time that you can just be silent and be intentional about the silence? And then here's the third way. No social media posts. For many of us, our lives are filled with posting things about ourselves, about our business on social media. Can we be silent for a day, for 2 days? Can we not create any noise of our own for a certain period of time? And can we use that time, the time that we spend posting, the time that we spend trying to get others' attention, can we spend that time in silence, simply listening? My prayer for you this week is that you would create less noise. May you be intentional about stillness, about silence. May you find a practice. May you experiment with different practices. Maybe you want to explore all 3 of these practices. And as you do so, may you connect with your own soul. May you come to discover all that you've been carrying with you for months, for years. And as you slow down, as you pay attention to these yellow lights, may you hear the divine Spirit speaking to you all the things that your soul needs to hear for this season of life that you find yourself in. May you engage in this season of preparation. Grace and peace to you, my friends.